Good evening, everybody, to the regular council meeting for November 9th. So welcome, and corporate officer, we've got adoption of minutes 2.1.
Yes, and there'll be two late items.
Okay,
There will be a new,
let's do the adoption of minutes first.
oh, sorry, jumped in.
Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the previous meetings that are mentioned, please? Councillor Traynor? Yeah. Seconder, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. Late items, the agenda.
Yes, there'll be a new item 14.2 under bylaws. And that's for local sanitary sewer service area. And under new business, there will be something regarding the school district.
Thank you. Okay.
Regarding, may I ask, I didn't hear, regarding,
The
New
school,
business?
new business regarding the school district.
School closure, school district.
Just a bit of a discussion. Okay, so we're moving right along into public and statutory hearings. Okay. Corporate officer? Or, we're moving right ahead into, okay. So 2.1, bylaw number 215030, amendment of zoning bylaw 2004-50, 5818 Nixon Road. Okay. Okay. Just got to read a public hearing statement. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act.
Separate.
During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that are subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaws have been made available to the public. Council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. I will be inviting the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record, and speakers are asked to limit their remarks to 5 minutes, please, and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or third time once all persons have had enough opportunity to speak. I've now asked the Director of Development Services to introduce the first item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first public hearing, as you mentioned, is for the rezoning of a property at 5818 Nixon Road. And it's from our RSD2 single-family zone to our RSD1 single-family zone. It is designated as low-density residential on our official community plan, which supports all of the low-density residential zonings. And the reason for the request is so that the property could be subdivided in half.
Okay. Any members of the public wish to speak, please? Any members of the public wish to speak? And for a third time, does any members of the public or those involved with this particular property like to speak? Hearing none, the recommend that the public hearing for bylaw 215030 be terminated. And we need to make that a motion. Yeah, could you have a motion to that effect, please? Councillor Barkwell, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Peak. All in favor? Thank you. So we'll move to 2.2, corporate officer. Shall I just read it, or? I guess we just move to Ian. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This public hearing is for zoning bylaw amendment to create a new temporary use permit area for the property located at 1341 Lakeshore Drive. And essentially the reason for the creation of the temporary use permit area is so a temporary use permit can be issued for wine storage. The zoning bylaw amendment that is the subject of the hearing right now is just to create the temporary use permit area.
Thank you. I guess I read this again, do I?
Yeah, they just turn over, so you do not need to read the whole statement again.
No, don't. Okay, are there any members of the public which would like to speak, please, to this issue? Sir, come up, please. Thank you. State your name and address, please.
Hi, Jackson Friesen. We're in Summerland. We're on Lakeshore Drive, 17019 Lakeshore Drive. I'm just going to read what we've already submitted with this application. Okay, dear council, we write to you today to introduce ourselves as the owners of Summerland Cannery Building and to request a temporary use permit at our premise. We are seeking a permit for temporary wine storage at our facility. As Summerland residents for 10 years, we share the city's vision that Summerland is a magical place to live and visit. Our long-term goal at 13415 Lakeshore Drive is to remain a CT1 zone premise for tourist commercial use and to make area of the Lower Summerland a truly spectacular place for our residents and visitors. We're applying for a temporary use permit at our facility to bring in a respected industry leader in the wine on tap business. Fresh Tap Logistics, Inc. is aiming to use 13415 Lakeshore Drive on a temporary short-term basis to discover if Summerland is the right home for its Okanagan business logistics. The facility will be used for the temporary storage of wine kegs from the Okanagan wine producers. The logistics side of the business is relatively small and would see a truck deliver and pick up 2 to 4 times per week, running during business hours only. We believe this is the perfect temporary solution for 13415 Lakeshore Drive as we navigate the opportunities for our future use of the cannery building as a CT1 zone tourist commercial establishment. And thank you for considering our application. So that was submitted, and I'm going to ask questions, or is that just, that's what you want to hear?
Questions for council of
Right now, we're doing the.
Okay, we're just going to go ahead, sir, and afterwards we'll ask.
Okay, thank you very much.
questions from council. Anybody else, please, from the public?
Right now, it's just the.
Hearing, seeing nobody. Anybody else from the public like to speak, please? Okay, thank you very much. Then this public hearing is terminated. Could we have a motion to that effect? Councillor Booth, thank you. Councillor Peak, all in favor? Thank you. None opposed. Motion's carried. So we'll move ahead to the rest of our meeting, correct? Okay. So we're into 4.2. Okay. So we have to motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Yeah, if we're done all of them, adjourn the public hearing.
We got another row? That's it. We have a motion to adjourn the public hearing, please. Councillor Peak, thank you. Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? Thank you. None opposed, motion's carried. So now we can move ahead into delegations. 5.1, Lindsay Baroque, please. The RDRS.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Council. Hi, my name is Mark Woods. I'm the Community Services Manager with the Regional District of Okanagan-Smelkameen. I have with me Ms. Lindsay Burke. She's our Rural Projects Coordinator for the region. Lindsay heads up our Heritage Program, so she's going to take you through a presentation tonight with respect to our recently adopted Heritage Plan. The other intent for tonight, the board has recently read for the first and second time and introduced a new bylaw for regional Heritage Program. So as part of that process, we're heading out to all the municipalities to provide you with a background on the program and also look for consent on adopting that regional bylaw service in place. So without further ado, I'll put you to Lindsay. She'll take you through the process. And by all means, if you have any questions, we'll chat afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm just going to make sure this works. Oh, great. So just to run through a bit of history quickly, the Heritage Program has existed at the RDOS since 2007 as a sub-regional service. So 5 of 8 of our electoral areas have been participating since that time. Then in 2009, the regional board decided that they really needed a strategic direction with respect to heritage conservation and started requisitioning for consultants to conduct a study and a plan. And I think it's worth mentioning that it's since very early in the process, the scope of the plan has been a regional context, despite only 5 of the electoral areas participating in the program. And the goal of the program was to define the future direction, policies, and priorities for the regional district with respect to heritage planning. So here are the high-level objectives of the Regional Heritage Plan. The first was to produce a context study, which is now found in Appendix A in the document, and conduct community engagement. The vision, mission, and goal statements, of course. Develop a marketing strategy, which essentially is an elaboration on the implementation plan. We also asked the consultants to conduct an impact assessment with respect to other departments that might be affected within the RDOS. We also asked for a recommendation on the most effective model of governance, which is why we're here to talk to you today. We asked for a list of sites that are of regional interest, and of course, the implementation strategy. So here's the overall timeline of the project. We went to RFP in late 2013 and then awarded just at the end of that year. Work really began in 2014 with the establishment of the working group. We had a really wonderful group of individuals from local museums and heritage societies participating. We had members of your Heritage Advisory Committee participating, as well as members from the Summerland Museum participating. They were very foundational in helping us set up the open houses, which were held in May of last year. And then later on in the summer, we went out and presented to the 3 signatories of our First Nations Protocol Agreement, so the PIB, LSIB, and OIB. Those presentations were all very well received, and there was a recommendation that we go through the Algonquin Center to develop a public engagement strategy for First Nations, and that project is still ongoing with First Nations in the area. Earlier this year, we held a very successful board workshop, followed quickly by the presentation of the final plan and first and second reading of the bylaw. That brings us to today. So this is the second municipality that we've had the pleasure of presenting to, and I'm concurrently working on the implementation strategy for 2016. Just to take a step back for a moment, I just want to run through what's involved in a heritage conservation program. There's basically 3 components, the Heritage Register being the foundational piece there, and I understand that Summerland just recently enacted the legislation that allows for a community register, which is wonderful. And having recently gone through the process, I'm sure you know that adding a site to your Heritage Register doesn't enable any protective legislation. It's merely a recognition program. It is used as a heritage conservation tool, and that allows you access to grants for particular sites and things like that, but it doesn't actually offer any protection. That's a subsequent step through the province. Management tools are the second, so those are things like the regional growth strategy and your OCP, which I noticed that Summerland has several references to heritage throughout their OCP. And just to be clear that authority would rest with Summerland should Summerland join the regional program. The RDOS's role here is primarily with the third component, and that's the public education and awareness, and that's primarily what we're going to be talking about today. So you all would have received a more detailed implementation program in your handouts and in the plan, and what I want to do today is just run through what we're going to be taking on as more of an annual basis at the regional district. And so one of the goals was to add 5 heritage resources to the register annually. And how that's done, as you know, is through a statement of significance. And that's typically done with an interest group that would like to recognize a particular site and the local government to actually do the drafting, and then there's a little bit back and forth between the local government and the province to make sure that you've met all of the requirements. Once the province accepts your statement of significance, it then moves up through more senior levels of government and ultimately ends up on the Canada's Register of Historic Places, which is that inset of the website that you see there on the right. And how the regional district is going to help facilitate this is by holding a 1-day statement of significance workshop that's facilitated by Heritage BC. Having done a couple of these myself and worked with community groups, the process can be a little bit intimidating. There's unfamiliar concepts and language, and so the intent of the workshop would really be to familiarize local heritage groups with that process and help foster or facilitate it through for them. Something that the regional district is starting to do more and more is marketing and promotion. And so you can't really see it that great, but we participated in Heritage Week for the first time this year, which was really exciting. That was in February, and the theme this year was Main Streets. And so what I had done was asked all of the museums and local historical societies in the region for images, archival images of their community's main streets, and then laid them out on a historical map of the region. And this was successful for a number of reasons. I mean, it was a great promotion for the region, and also it started to get that regional conversation going with respect to heritage. And so some museums hadn't planned on doing anything for Heritage Week prior to me contacting them, and subsequently offered free admission throughout the week or different events and programs that they otherwise wouldn't have offered. And so that regional conversation really allows individual community museums and societies to elevate what they have and really showcase what they have for heritage. The second board down below is an interpretive board that we're going to be installing at Selby Park, and it commemorates the settlement of the West Bench through the Veterans Land Act. Something that we've been working on quite a lot this year is the development of our online resources. And so we have laid out all of our historical sites on a GIS layer that is accessible internally. And Development Services uses that when they get development permits coming through to see if there's any opportunities or conflicts with heritage sites in the region. We've been really bolstering our website to provide tools for people who are looking for information on heritage and heritage-related processes. One thing that we hope to start distributing next year, second quarter next year, is a quarterly newsletter. And so that will be available both online and through our distribution list of people that we've collected email addresses for through the open house process. And one of the big opportunities that I see for heritage in the region is its synergy with existing programs in the RDOS. So fun heritage fact, 5 out of 8 of the provincially designated sites in the region are historic trails. And through our regional trails program, we're poised to start providing interpretive signs and kiosks. And so there's a real opportunity there to provide historical information along with the trail information and interpretive signs. And so there's a real opportunity also for combining cultural tourism with adventure tourism. So I just want to take a second to highlight this application. This is a really exciting application that we launched this year that's accessible through our website. So it's our Heritage Story Map application, and we currently have all of our sites that we've recognized in the RDOS on a regional map. And the idea is that you can go in and click on one of the numbers that relates to a particular heritage site in the region, and you get a little write-up on the site along with a couple of photos. So this is a really fun and interactive site that's available right now. I encourage you all to go check it out. And so currently it's just our recognized heritage sites, and I know since Summerland has just enabled the legislation, they only have, I think, maybe 1 or 2 sites on your register. However, that criteria isn't something that is designated by the province. We could include heritage sites from, I believe you have a 1994 inventory, so we could start to populate that for Summerland pretty quickly. So here's our budget for the regional program, and I'll just forward to Summerland. So Summerland accounts for, I believe it's 13% of the overall budget should they decide to participate in the program and should the program go forward. And what that works out to be is about 45 cents average per household and just over $2,600 annually to participate. And so should you go ahead, these are some of the sites that were identified through the open houses that were identified as being important to Summerland residents, and what we'd ultimately use to go forward with the 2016 implementation. So going back to that budget, we've looked at basically what was outlined for 2016 in the implementation, and have come up with about a budget of about $20,000. And so one of the first things that we're going to be looking at doing, again, is the establishment of that Heritage Commission. So that's really our foundational piece, and that would be representation from people throughout the region. I've already started working on a calendar of cultural events that will be published early in 2016. Heritage Week is coming up this next year in February. The theme this year is distinctive destinations, and so we've already been in contact with museums about that program and looking forward to promoting them. As I mentioned, we'll be hopefully be publishing the newsletter second quarter next year. We're going to be hosting that Statement of Significance workshop later on this summer. And throughout the entire year, we'll be participating in local festival events, both to promote the program as well as any heritage events that you're having in your area. One of the projects that that's a bit of a carryover from 2015 is that Granite Creek project. So they're looking to establish some interpretive signage at the site. So we'll be working with the Granite Creek Preservation Society for the establishment of signs on that site. And then hopefully after everything falls into place throughout the year, we'll have those 5 additional heritage sites to add to the register. And so that's a really quick overview of 18 months of work, but I'm happy to take any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Council, questions of Lindsay, please. Councillor Holmes and Peak.
Thanks for your presentation. As you're probably aware, in Summerland, we have quite a bit of heritage in this community, and quite an active participation in heritage on our Heritage Commission and the Museum Board and whatnot. So I guess if we then participate in a regional thing, how do you avoid kind of duplication of services that there'll be any, how do you avoid any overlap between what we're doing and what you'd be doing on the regional level?
Mm-hmm. So our intent at the regional district is really to look to the communities to follow their lead essentially and what they have going on in their community, and look to help promote it, and also to help them with those foundational pieces like statements of significance. And so really kind of garnering that like helping support their programs and helping to give them the tools that they need in order to support heritage in their particular community.
Councillor Peak.
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, who did you deal with at the museum here in Summerland?
So we had Sharon Manciere from the museum, Betty Raymond, and we had I believe we had one other participate in a very early meeting, but I don't think she carried on.
Thank you. I was just interested in the individuals.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at a collective, you're doing an overlaying piece, which is more of a regional strategy, and your idea is to have the community organizations feed into that?
That would be, I think that's how the program would function best, yes.
And how is it being dealt with? Because I noticed you were looking for the impact assessment within your own departments. How did that work through in your consultation plan?
Through with our organization. And so basically, we looked at the different processes that would be basically touched by heritage. And so when a development permit, I mean, the big issue there is when a site has a certain level of protection. That's when things really get complicated with respect to a development services perspective. However, if you're looking mainly at sites that are just recognized on our register, there's no real legislative conflict. However, we're using it as an opportunity to make owners and property owners aware of particular heritage sites that they might be impacting. And so it was from, and also from just educating our organization as a whole and working heritage into each of our processes.
Very good. If
Yeah.
I may, Mr. Mayor, You are the lead on this particular project, because I noticed that you do rural projects in general.
Correct.
I'm wondering how it's being handled internally and what the money will actually be going for, because I don't quite understand that piece.
So I do look after a number of things for the regional district. Heritage is one of them. I would say that in the last couple of years since handling this project, I've spent about 15 to 20% of my time on this project. And I also handle transit, as well as I do a lot working with Mr. Woods and my colleague Justin Shuttleworth on Parks and Trails.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else? No further questions. Thank you very much, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And Mark, thank you very much.
For your time.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Council, we need to have someone bring the motion forward to receive the report from the RDOS, as well as the other material contained in that. Councillor Boot, will you read it, please?
Oh, that the delegation from the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen be received, and further that staff prepare a report regarding the Regional Heritage Conservation Service Establishment Bylaw to present to Council at the November 23rd, 2015 regular Council meeting.
Seconder, please. Councillor Traynor, thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Peak?
I hope that when the report comes back from our staff, that there will have been some discussion with our commission and with the museum as to how they see this working out for them and the benefits or risks or whatever that might be involved in that as well. Thank you.
Any questions of staff regarding this before we move on? CAO?
It's coming back it'll come back.
Okay, so it's just a matter of moving forward now. So, all in favor? Thank you. None opposed. The motion is carried. Thank you, Mark and Lindsay. Appreciate your time. So we move ahead to 5.2, Chamber of Commerce. Spetkow.
Good evening, Mayor Waterman, councillors and district staff. My name is Christine Petco. I'm the Executive Director for the Chamber of Commerce here in Summerland. Thank you for having us here this evening. The Chamber is very pleased to present the second of our biannual presentations for 2015 to Council today. With me this evening is our Chamber Vice President, Robert Hackney, and one of our Chamber Directors, Eric Thompson. The slide deck that you have for tonight's presentation is actually 39 slides long and would take roughly, yes, I know, Mayor Waterman, yes, you're right, it would take a long time, probably closer to 40 minutes to deliver that presentation fully. So I'm not going to do that here. I'll just touch on some of the key areas this evening and then move to our recent business walk. So the existing deck is a very comprehensive representation of all that the Chamber does in the three areas where we work. And those areas are tourism, member services, and business retention and expansion. And so I'll ask Ian to go to slide 4. In the tourism portfolio, and each of the three areas has a cover slide that looks like this. And on the left side of these slides are all the areas in that portfolio where we work. And on the right side are the special projects that we've undertaken for the current year. So as you can see in tourism, we are responsible to manage the visitor center. We produce the local visitor guide. We're involved in partnerships. We prepare and create all the regional or the areas, the Summerland's media collateral. We do community promotions, and we are responsible for the Festival of Lights. If we go to slide 9, please, Ian. One of the larger undertakings this year on the promotional side was the Go Media Conference. Go Media is an international media event that is created and presented by Destination Canada. And because it was in Penticton, and because some of those people were also touring Summerland attractions, then we made a choice to go ahead and participate in the marketplace as well. And so one of the takeaways, I think, from the Go Media event in particular was, there are two, of course. One of those is publications that are writing and will be writing. There have been blogs already written about Summerland. There is a page of entry in the 2016 Rough Guide for Canada, and Rough Guide is an international publication of travel guides that covers more than 200 countries. And so that's a plus or a win for us as well. Northwest Travel is writing still this year about the town and the community. So those are current wins already that come out of Go Media, and we hope that there will be more as the years go by. And certainly there will be for the South Okanagan as a whole. Can we go? Yeah, on the community promotion side, one of the sort of a legacy item, I guess, is that we ended up creating a media page dedicated for tourism writers. And so that is located on our website. If you're on that website at all, this is tourismsummerland.com. And it is right from the home page. There is a media tab up in the top right corner. And there are 12 distinct areas that are covered there where travel writers do their writing, and they generally categorize them into different activities, things like soft adventure, extreme adventure, health and wellness. Those are the types of categories. So each one of those tiles has distinct story ideas in it, contact people, images, all that kind of thing that a media writer could go to. So that was a fairly significant add-on to the tourism website this year. So in slide 12, I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the special projects that we've done this year. A lot of it has had to do with community partnerships in particular. And so a key thing that we were working on this year, the South Okanagan community, was the development of a really comprehensive bike path guide. And I think you guys have seen those since the spring. We've been having that around. And then what happened also is that in various places in the region, data from that full bike guide has been created and put on signage that is being used for visitors around the area. In addition, one of the key things that the South Okanagan communities are working on right now is the development of a memorandum of understanding that will be a multi-year agreement of how we can work together to continue a collaborative approach for tourism for the South Okanagan. This does not in any way change the fact that all of our communities have very strong and distinctive brands for our own communities, but there are ways that we can market the region as a whole to international markets. And so that's something that we're still involved in. That memorandum of understanding should finish up this year. And so that was a key project for this year as well. We've developed a fair amount of print collateral this year, and I think some of the slides in your deck talk about that and show that there were additional new bike maps that were made specifically for Summerland, as well as some other things. We continue to manage our digital portfolio as well, which includes 3 websites, 3 Facebook pages, 2 Twitter accounts, Pinterest, Instagram, and a blog, as well as a tourism newsletter, which reaches more than 13,000 addresses. So if we'll go to slide 19, thanks Ian. Slide 19 outlines the areas where we work specifically for our members, our business members. We have managed different benefit programs, and there are a number of slides in your deck that deal with the member promotion activities, advocacy throughout the province, and education activities. The special project that we undertook in member services this year that we'll touch on is the development of the Chamber website, and that one is on slide 24, I think. Thanks. The Chamber website, the old one was not as robust as we needed it to be, and so a new one was designed that would be a little more clean-lined, a little easier to read, maybe not necessarily on this slide, but it is generally, and a lot of enhanced functionality. Our goal was that people would be able to find the community tools and the business tools that they needed right from the home page, and that it would be very easy. And this next slide shows the business directory. This was a real factor as well in the redevelopment of the website. The business directory is very comprehensive, it's well organized and easy for businesses to find their listings and also for people who visit the site to find the businesses that they are looking for. And the Chamber website gets about 400 visits a day. And so at this time, all 700 of our business members have individual business listings. Those are free, and there's an example of that on the upper right side there. What happens with the free listings is that they have their name and a brief business description. There is a live link to their website. The representative for the community is named, and email options are provided as well as a Google map so people can locate that. And the lower portion of this slide shows an enhanced listing, which provides a much longer business description for our members. But what was really key in the development of the business directory was to provide businesses with the opportunity to have media options as well, which is a real significant improvement because not only can it be images, but it can also be video. And statistically, we know that probably almost 70% of internet traffic by 2017 is expected to be video. So it's a great idea for businesses to have that option to include that in their marketing packages. So those options exist on the Chamber website. And so we'll go now to the last area where the Chamber works, slide 27. Is business retention and attraction, and this is part of the economic development portfolio which we share with the district. And a number of slides in this section deal with networking activities, the partnerships that we have in the region, and promotional activities that we do. But I want to draw your attention to the special projects that we have accomplished for this year. One of them that we did, and this is a two-part activity, and on slide 31. As part of a move to approach a local shopping initiative and to have people recognize that both goods and services are available here in Summerland, we initiated a campaign, and that was with the first component of it, sort of phase one, was a video that was launched in February, and it was designed to help people understand the impact of their shopping dollars on local community organizations. And so this was launched in February. It was very well received. It had almost 10,000 views overall and was shared almost 200 times within the community. So it was a very well received product. Stage 2 is going to come in 2016, which was the rollout of a bigger campaign in this regard. And one of the reasons we held on to it was because we were holding on the development of the Chamber website. Because if we are doing local shopping, we want to make sure that whatever directory we're going to is going to be really robust and that people will have all the opportunities they need to showcase their businesses. So that was the first thing. And the second thing that we did as a special project in this category this year was the business walk activity. Now, I think which slide is that one, Ian?
32.
That's 31? 32. 32, there we go. Let's see. Sue, I have one of these for you. I really need that, thank you. So the business walks have been held in the Okanagan for a few years, and the majority of communities have done them. This is the first time that we had been able to do this, so it was great to have that opportunity. In total, we visited with our partners. There were 7 small teams that went out, teams of 2. And as you folks know, you were very involved. So it was a member of council and one of our own directors who in these teams went out all over town. And they visited 66 businesses in person on October 22nd. And then in the following 4 or 5 days, businesses also had the opportunity to go online and complete the identical questions. And there were 3 questions asked at that time. The first was, how is business? And there were 3 choices provided. What do you like about doing business in Summerland? And what can be done to help your business thrive? So those were the 3 questions that were asked at that time. And of the 115 businesses that responded, You can see here the breakdown of the groups that responded. There were split out among the James Lake, Jones Flat, and the Logie industrial areas, Bentley, and Main Street downtown and Victoria Road businesses. And then there were a number of respondents who are in other locations. Those were some of the online respondents who were other businesses such as home-based businesses and consultants. And so that gives you an idea of where the different responses came from. There were a number of groups, industry groups, sectors captured: retail, service, industrial manufacturing, office, and arts and creative, as well as tourism businesses that responded to the report. The first question that businesses answered was, how is business? And there was a very good response. 90% were either steady or increasing. And again, almost 54% were said that their business was increasing. And a small percent, less than 10%, said that their business was going poorly at this time compared to last year. The next question was, why do the business owners like doing business in Summerland? And what we found, again, that the question is fairly subjective. So it broke down the answers into themes, and so that's how the information is being shown here. And that in general, the themes were as follows: location, working with local people, a small town living, our business climate here, community support, work-life balance, and people who enjoyed the artistic components of the community. And again, in your report too, you can see some of the comments that were made, that we have a great community, it's enthusiastic and creative, we have a beautiful location, friendly clients, people who take great pride in our community, and fantastic customers. So those are just a tiny sample in your written report there of what some of the comments were. So the last question that was asked of these sort of more subjective questions on this survey was, what can we do to help you succeed? And again, the answers here of those 115 responses break down into themes. As you can see, downtown revitalization was a very strong front runner. And I think what's interesting to note is that that information, that response for downtown revitalization was not unique to downtown. It's a theme that was spread across all those different business sectors. Community growth, infrastructure, local shopping, business marketing, affordable housing, marketing Summerland as a destination, working to attract more skilled workers and families to our town, business taxes, and red tape were all the sort of the themes that were raised in that walk. Lastly, there were a couple questions that were strictly directed to some business owners, whether they planned to retire or sell their business in the next 5 years. Not everyone responded to this question, or in some cases, it was a manager rather than an owner who was being spoken to, and so then that question wasn't posed to them. But of the respondents, then the majority said that no, they were not planning to sell their business in the next 5 years. I think that one thing, though, it's still really important to keep in mind is that of those who responded, 50%, whether or not they said yes or no, they don't have a succession plan in place. So whether it's 5 years away or 10 years away, the notion of business succession is still a very important one. And in rural BC, it's really vital that we have some sense of succession planning and being able to offer those resources to our business community, as it's vital that businesses continue on as opposed to closing with job losses. So that's why the succession issue is a one that's certainly on the radar in our region. So that is I think that is the end of the Business Walk report. And certainly the Chamber very much wishes to thank the District of Summerland for participating on October 22nd in that date. We weren't able to cover everyone we had wanted to see that day. It was a factor of timing. Unfortunately, we underestimated the amount of time that we would want to spend with each business and chat with them. And we'll do that better next time. And we certainly hope that you will join us again in the future for Business Walk 2016. And I think that is the end of my report and the end of that slide deck.
Thank you. Council, questions of Ms. Petkoff, please. Councilor Barkle.
Yes, everybody who's has a business license is a member of the chamber, and then can get a listing in the directory, provided I presume that they provide you the information to put on the directory.
Mhm.
And then you talked about the enhanced listing.
That's right.
Is that, and that is an additional fee then, the enhanced listing?
Yes, it is.
And when did that program start with the enhanced listing?
With this new website.
Which was when?
Let's see. We launched, I'm thinking September. I can't
So
give you an exact
very,
date. I
very
think later
recent,
in
yeah.
September. Yes, it's very recent.
Yeah, has there been any take-up on that?
On enhanced listings,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I think business members recognize that it's really effective to
Yeah.
have the option to add images and video. And that's the way we like to receive our information as buyers, and so
Mhm.
they are interested in providing it.
So you could either have your own website and then link to your own website, or this same information on the enhanced website, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, it's a fairly low fee. In total, it's $85
Yeah.
for the year, which
Yeah.
works out to roughly $7 and change per
Mhm.
month. And so it's a great add-on. If you're able to have lots of your clients coming directly to you, that's terrific. If they come via our route because they entered a search item, on our website, then it's a great place to have that information as well for a very tiny fee.
So how many have taken it up so far?
Well, we haven't really done a lot of marketing with it, but there may be, at this point, I don't know, 10 or 20, and many have expressed interest in advertising on the site as well as doing their enhanced listings. There are lots of businesses that are sort of in the works on that. It
Mhm.
takes time to
Mhm.
back and forth a bit with the creation of the enhanced listing. And at this first early start, we had, our communications officer had said that she would help businesses with that process on the enhanced listing, because it's going to take a little time to get people logins and all of that kind of thing in order for them to keep it up themselves in the future. Because I know, one client, for example, or one of our business members had said, that they wanted to change it over seasonally so that their pictures were always fresh of their products. So that'll take time, yeah.
Anybody else? Councilor Peak?
I appreciated the opportunity, as I'm sure all of council did, to go on the business walks. It did take a lot longer. People were interested in talking to us, and sometimes because they were in business, you had to wait till they finished what they were doing or whom they were talking to. Certainly a whole day would make it more likely we would cover more territory. And perhaps if we could engage them a little more ahead of time, so that if they really wanted to make sure that we got there, we could make sure that because you were trying to get, and we were picking up some businesses that had gone in on whatever, maybe a short-term lease. They were picking up ones that weren't on the original list, so there was a lot of back and forth that way. But I found it very valuable, and I certainly appreciated the opportunity. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Councilor Trainer?
I was just wondering if you have any projects or initiatives in 2016 or 17 for bringing businesses to Summerland, new businesses?
We do.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
It's early days to
Okay.
kind of flesh out that, yeah, but yes, they are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what I was going to add that rather than taking a whole day, which depends on the day, but I would think we were thinking in terms of maybe twice a year, doing it that way. Then we would just pick up where we left off and pick on more businesses. The other thing that I thought was good was just the opportunity to pair with the chamber members or directors to get out there, and I think it helps the relationship between us and the chamber too. So I quite enjoyed it, and
Good.
you know, as long as you didn't stand in the shade that morning, it was pretty good.
And there's been a lot of positive feedback from the business community too about how much
Yeah.
that they appreciated.
It really is
meeting y'all.
difficult to gauge how long you're going to take because, as Councillor Peake said, you may have to wait.
Mhm.
But other times, we had a couple of businesses, the owner just wanted to keep going, which was great. So we weren't about to cut them off. So, you know, you just don't know how long it might take. So I thought it was very successful. So
Good, I'm glad.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. Okay, Council, would you like to bring a motion to receive Christine's report, please? Councillor Holmes.
I move that the delegation from the Chamber of Commerce be received for information.
Seconder? Seconder, please. Councillor Boot, thank you. All in favor? Okay, none opposed, motion is carried. Thank you very much, and thank you, Christine. Appreciate that very much. Okay, this is the opportunity now on item 6 for public comment, where we have 15 minutes allotted for members of the public to make any comment on any item that's highlighted in yellow in the agenda. So would anybody like to come forward and speak to any of those items, please? Second time, anybody like to speak to those items? Are you getting up, Henry, or are you? Oh, you're. Did I say something?
Cheers.
No, okay. Would anybody else like to say anything? Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to my report, which is here somewhere. There it is. As Mayor's report for tonight, on October 26, our Irrigation Committee conducted its first open house to bring forward results of its deliberations over the past few months. The information was comprehensive and was well attended by the public. The survey responses and comments will be considered for the next irrigator meeting rates open house December 8th, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. in council chambers. Following that, the next night there will be another open house regarding second domestic water connections. That'll be on December 9th, 3 to 7 at the Arena Banquet Room. Now just note that water use is high on the community's list of concerns, so please come out and provide your feedback. You know, I've sort of said in the past that we've got two big issues in this community, and that's land and water. So these are important to us. So we'd like participation to make these committee's deliberations complete. Council has had 2 half-day meetings, November 2nd and 3rd, to initiate our strategic planning process. We will be having more meetings to firm up and prioritize our strategic plans for 2016 and beyond prior to getting into full budget considerations. On November 4th, I enjoyed having breakfast with and the pleasure of listening to students at the Summerland Montessori School. They read stories that they had written in both English and French. As well, I had the opportunity to read them a story. This story had two endings, a happy ending and a sad ending. And the students were able to choose which one they wanted to hear first. It actually figures that the grade 5 boys wanted to hear the sad ending first, but the majority chose the happy ending. I'd like to thank my wife Claire for choosing a great story and giving me clues in reading to the students from her years as an elementary school teacher. This last Sunday, Rick Gay, the pastor of the Alliance Church, invited my wife Claire and I to participate in their annual Remembrance Day service, along with representatives from the Royal Canadian Legion. We were glad to participate, and I would like to encourage the community to attend the full Remembrance Day service in City Park this Wednesday, November 11th, to reflect on the contribution and sacrifices our veterans have made in past conflicts. One last note, a bit of a sad note, I attended a funeral this afternoon for Mr. Charlie Greenoff. Charlie was a highly respected teacher, principal, administrator in Summerland for many years. The number of students that passed through his hands were probably in the hundreds. So, it was a tremendous tribute to Charlie this afternoon. And his son, Bob, who is the actual spitting image of his father, gave a wonderful eulogy. And it made the comment that Charlie wasn't a great man, but he was a good man. And that really spoke volumes about Charlie. So we'll miss him, and he was a friend of mine, and he taught with my wife. So it was a sad day, but a happy day at the same time, to celebrate Charlie's life. And that's my report. CAO.
I've got four things today to report to council. First of all, we had just to announce that we've now successfully hired a director of works and utilities. We've hired Chris Johnson. That is to take place for retiring Don Darling. We've hired Chris Johnson. He's a professional engineer from Alberta. He's a member of the Association of Professional Engineers of Alberta. For the last 4 years, he's been the director of engineering at Rocky Mountain House, which is a municipality just outside of Red Deer. And prior to that, he was 4 years as the infrastructure engineer for the same municipality. So he will be starting with us January the 4th. So we have a month and a half to go. Don's last day will be November the 17th. Secondly, council's likely aware now that we have our first workshop for the skate park on Thursday, November the 26th. It's a design input workshop, and that will be Thursday evening, 7 to 9. We'll also be doing a number of stakeholder meetings. We haven't determined which groups we'll be meeting with during that same time period, but this one's open to the public. Any interest at all in the skate park, it'll be a great opportunity. The design company will be on hand leading it, talking about their previous experiences and gathering input on what's important for the community to see in the skate park. We haven't talked about fire too much lately. Council may not be aware that the training building is nearing completion. All the cans are now in place. They're putting the finishing touches on, and if you haven't driven by and had a look, you may want to. Fire Chief Noble is really very happy about it. And lastly, last week I had a lengthy conversation with the manager of the Bicycle BC granting program. He contacted us as a follow-up from UBCM when we were talking to the Minister of Transportation and Highways. He explained that there'll be a new intake in January. They'll be distributing $6 million throughout BC on that intake, and he just gave me a lot of details about what to look for, and so it's time to start planning. So perhaps next council meeting we'll have a conversation on priorities. So it was really very helpful that he came ahead and gave me pages of notes and ideas for the direction for that. So that's my report.
Thank you. I should like to add to that our UBCM meetings, it was extremely encouraging to see how enthusiastic Minister Stone was for the cycling programs and trails. So I think there's opportunity for communities that are wanting and eagerly moving forward on cycling opportunities. So now we're into number 9, unfinished business, 2 bylaws to deal with. Mr. Planner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first bylaw is the subject of the first public hearing tonight, which is the rezoning at 5818 Nixon Road. Again, to rezone from RSD2 to RSD1 to allow the property to be subdivided in half.
Okay. Questions of staff, council? Councilor Holmes.
Are the neighbors notified of these public hearings in the same way they are of a variance application, for example?
Yes, every property owner within 30 meters of the subject property will get a letter in the mail from us explaining the situation.
Anybody else? Councilor Peak?
I'd like to say that this seems like an optimal location for this type of infilling, and I think it is a good application to see come forward.
Okay, would someone like to bring the motion forward?
I
Councillor
just
Tran?
have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Can you bring up the wider shot again?
You mean
Or sorry, the closer. The property to the left, it looks like there's a structure right on the property line. Will that affect development if the two lots are divided?
No, Mr. Mayor, that won't affect development at all. I'm not sure, sometimes these photos are not quite as they appear if the airplane taking the photo is off on an angle and it's a tall structure, it appears closer to the property line than it really is. But in any event, it won't affect the development of either of those lots.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Would someone like to bring the recommended motion forward, please? All right. A motion, sorry. Any motion regarding this subject. Councillor Carlson.
I will move that bylaw number 2015-03, amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450 at 5818 Nixon Road be read a third time.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer. Thank you.
Second
Any
and third?
further discussion?
I just.
Go ahead, sir.
I know that there's some folks down in Trout Creek that like the rural feeling and the larger lots, and I think that there's some situations such as this one where it's right beside a school, and it makes a lot of sense to, since we've already begun the process of turning things to RSD1, to continue along that line and improve some of the buildings and the structures down there. So some places this is going to work well, and in others it won't, but in this case I believe we're on the right track.
Anybody else? Okay. Someone like to bring a motion forward, please?
We did.
We
Yeah.
seconded.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's passed, none opposed. Going to 9.2, Mr. Planner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one has two components to it. The first component is amending the zoning bylaw to create a new temporary use permit area for the property highlighted on the screen there at 13415 Lakeshore Drive. And the law requires that council, if council is interested in issuing temporary use permits in particular areas, they have to identify the areas first through the zoning bylaw, and then they can issue permits from then on. So the first part of this bylaw is to create the temporary use permit, and then should that one pass, then the discussion over actually issuing the permit that has been applied for subsequent to that, for the wine storage building, or the wine storage use, sorry.
Questions of the planner, please? Councillor Carlson.
What kind of consideration has been given to the traffic on Lakeshore and the impact that I'm assuming a 53-foot trailer would have on that, especially during the summer when it is extremely busy and there's people all over the place? Has that been looked at in any degree?
Mr. Mayor, it has been looked at. We did confirm with Public Works that a 40-foot trailer can make a turn in and out of that property quite easily. 2 to 4 trucks, which is in the written submission, didn't seem to be an overly onerous amount of truck traffic in that area. There are trucks that are going in and out of the hotel and the restaurant to the south, so it has been considered for sure.
What about the other, like, in my experience, trucks don't always go to the right place the first time. Turnaround locations, signage ability to actually, if you come off the highway and you miss that, you're going all the way back up Peach Orchard back to the highway. Is that something that we should be concerned about? It seems to me like we should. I don't know. Is that something that we need signs for, or something that we should be thinking about before we let commercial go, or a different kind of commercial go down there?
It's always a consideration, and if it becomes a problem, we can certainly sign the area. I think it's no different than many areas of town where truck traffic goes, and if they get lost or miss their turn, they may have a difficult time Certainly the first time around, if that's an issue, probably wouldn't be thereafter, but it's a valid concern.
Especially if they go up Solly, would not be good.
Councillor Barkle.
I have seen trucks in trouble before. I mean, going to Summerland Suites is, but this is pretty straightforward. I was sort of going under the assumption, and maybe I shouldn't assume anything without asking our director of planning, but it's the same location where Kettle Valley Dried Fruits was, right, for a while?
That's correct.
And so how do the number of trucks here for this use compared to the number of trucks that would visit that location when it was in operation?
I don't have that information. Generally speaking, 2 to 4 trucks a week isn't what we would consider to be a lot of truck traffic, but I don't know how that would compare previously.
I'm going to guess that that this is less than it was previously, but don't have stats to prove it.
I think that would come under old data. So, Councillor Holmes.
Same question, really, as the last one. So, is it the 30? Was the 30 meter rule applied for notification as this as well for people?
That's correct. Yes.
So, but in reality, it affects more than people beyond 30 meters. The whole people living along Lakeshore Drives will have trucks driving past them. So.
That's quite correct. We generally follow the district's procedure bylaw, which requires a 30-meter radius. Oftentimes it captures those most affected, but certainly not always.
Okay. No further questions? Okay, Council, we have actually 3 motions regarding this issue. So we have if you take the first one, then we move on to adopting it, and then there's a third one associated. So would someone like to bring a motion forward on this issue? Councillor Barkle?
I have to put my glasses on.
That's okay.
I move that bylaw 2015-31 amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450 temporary use permit area at 13415 Lakeshore Drive be read a third time.
Seconder, please. Councillor Booth. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, the motion is carried. Okay, moving on.
Sorry, can we just, I'm a bit lost. There's 3 motions?
Yep, it's on page 35.
Okay, I'll catch up.
9.2 if you're on
Yeah,
the
sorry,
bookmark.
yeah.
That helps, thank you.
Okay, are we there now?
Yeah. Just trying to figure what the difference between the first and the second one.
This is third reading and adoption.
Yeah. We're moving through 2 aspects of this, but we have to
Okay.
do each one separately.
Yeah.
Okay, we've passed the first one,
The
right?
third reading, yeah.
Okay, so now we can move on to the second motion. Someone like to bring motion forward, please? Councillor Barkle, thank you. You're so good at it, here we go.
Yeah, that bylaw number 2015-031 amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450 temporary use permit area at 13415 Lakeshore Drive be adopted.
Further questions or discussion?
Seconder?
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Motion's passed. Pardon me? Okay, we're moving on to the third phase of this. Mr. Planner.
This now is for the discussion over the actual issuance of a temporary use permit that could go into this newly created temporary use permit area. And that is for wine storage, so that would be added as a temporary use permit. Temporary use permits can be issued by council for up to a maximum of 3 years. And they can be extended once by resolution. And then if there's any appetite to go beyond that, a new application has to be made and go through the regulatory process again.
Okay, thank you. Any Thank you.
Um,
Councillor Carlson?
This may need to be answered by the applicant, I'm not sure. If we were to issue a temporary use permit for less than 3 years, would there still be interest in accomplishing this and using the space?
I cannot answer that one, but the applicant is in the gallery. They may be able to answer that for you.
Say if we were to only give you 1 year or 2 years, would that still be something that this company is interested in pursuing?
So right now, we've talked to them about 2 years. I have discussions documented. I'm sure it's fine. They know that they are only going to be there for a very short period of time. I haven't directly spoken with them about that specific item. But again, they're looking to see if this would be a home for their business, and it serves a purpose for us, serves a purpose for them in the very short-term time frame. And so I don't think it would be an issue, but as of right now, we've been speaking with them directly about a 2-year period of time.
Thank you, that's what I
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, are we ready to move ahead? Councillor Peak?
Perhaps Jack could have stayed at the mic. I might have
Yes,
another question.
absolutely.
If
I'll
you-
answer them all.
If
I'd
you,
love to
if
help
you
you.
don't mind. Obviously, you have another purpose in mind. This
Yes.
is not ideally a storage area. And,
No.
this is a beautiful lake shore.
Right, of course.
So you're looking to do something more with the property. If that happens within the 2-year time frame, does that make a difference to the proponents that it would be making use of your facility?
No, we've actually spoken about that with them directly, and that they know that in a very, potentially could be a quick time frame, that we could turn this around and begin to move on our hopefully future plans. So this arrangement arose from a strong relationship with the company that we're talking about and myself. I've known these guys for a very, very long time, on a personal level and a business level. And the discussion was, they have an opportunity to work in the Okanagan, where they already are, where they're already working, but they've been outsourcing their storage facility in Kelowna, and they were wanting to see if potentially bringing it in-house and running their business that way for a very short period of time could work for them, and then work on plans in the future for running their business going forward. So it kind of just fills a need for both of us. While we work on getting all the appropriate documentation and permits and applications and everything that takes place to make the cannery building something great for Summerland, they move in and help us with some of our costs. So
Right. 'Cause
it's a lot to carry that big of a piece of property when there's no business running out of it. So
Yes.
that's why we're doing that.
Okay, I better understand, and certainly a highest and best use of the property is something that we would all like to see.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure how to present that forward, but obviously I can speak with Ian about that. And we're already walking down the path on that, so I don't know if you want me to speak more to that, or if there's...
No, I think that's
Okay.
certainly suitable for this particular forum.
Okay, no problem. And then can I just answer that one question about the trucks that you were asking about earlier? Just so you know, it would only be one truck that would be making 2 to 4 passes a week. So it
Same
wouldn't...
driver or company?
Same driver, yeah. So it'd be with the specific company. He would obviously know the area. He would know his route, and if there was any reason not to use a certain route, we could be making that very clear as well.
That's helpful.
So.
Councillor Peak?
Yes, I have a question of staff, if I might. In a temporary use permit situation, could we, in fact, leave it for a 2-year period of time?
Absolutely. There's only a maximum of 3. Anything less than that is up to council's discretion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Holmes?
I wanted to ask the proponent a question. So what arrangements would you have with the storage people, the people who are storing that? If you're ready to move ahead with your plans with the development, and they're still in there taking the space when you're ready to get working on it, can they clear it? Can you tell them to clear out? Or
Yep.
How does that work?
So the tenant must give the landlord 6 months written notice if we want to terminate the lease. And if the lease were to go any further than the designated time frame, it would be a 3-month period. So in my mind, that's pretty quick turnaround for a business of this stature moving in and renting the space. So That's what we have written together right now on a draft basis. Yes.
Really quick one, what's the busiest time of year for this company?
It's pretty steady. I haven't spoken to them directly about fluctuations in business for their current business in Vancouver and as well in Kelowna, but I don't think that it changes that much. I think that it's very steady because it is the wine on tap business. It's basically the kegging and storage. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Well, we have Mr. Freeze now. Councillor Peak.
I think that was a very cogent remark from my fellow councillor. In particular, because of the beaches and the recreation area down there, we certainly see an increased amount of traffic, and we wouldn't want to see an interface that created a safety hazard. So, if it should go forward, I would certainly hope that you let the drivers know from this company how important it is to watch out for pedestrians and children in the area
Of course.
of the entranceways.
For sure.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council will be ready to bring this third, or this A motion forward. Councillor Carlson.
I will move that a temporary use permit authorizing the temporary commercial use of wine storage on Lot 1 DL 455 and 5085 ODYD Plan 5896 located at 13415 Lakeshore Drive for a term of 2 years be approved, as opposed to 3, which is the general temporary use permit.
Okay, any comments, CEO?
That's fine.
That's fine. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Okay, any further discussion on that, considering a slight change in possibilities? Hearing Councillor Holmes.
There's a lot of idle land in Summerland, and it's kind of sitting there doing nothing. And I think the community sees this as one of the big ones. And there's been no activity on it for years. I think the community wants to see something done with that property. And usually, if you want to create an incentive for landowners to do something with an idle piece of property, you don't allow them to make a profit generating thing for temporary use. You want to penalize them financially, not encourage them financially. So my risk is that you have these temporary use permits and they're making profit on it, and then nothing happens with that property. That's my main concern here is I don't want to see this being used as an excuse for doing nothing on this property. And I think this should be a jewel in our lakefront, and it shouldn't be sitting there the way as an eyesore as it is now. So.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson.
This may be for the CAO or the planner. Is there another, can we put more conditions into a temporary use permit, perhaps saying that, after a 6-month period or a 1-year period, further plans are presented, or we see where the progress is with getting the next stage in this, or is that?
Mr. Mayor, you can put conditions on such as hours of work or days of the week or numbers of trucks, but I don't think you can put a condition on that says you must bring forward alternate development plans as part of that's not really the use. It's related because of the circumstance we're in, but it's not really related to the use of the land.
The only way you would deal with that would be to do it a shorter time period and then reevaluate at that period of time, if that's, so you would do it for a year and then reevaluate and do it for another year if you felt that it was still viable for the business, but that's not the purpose of a temporary use, so.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Holmes.
So for temporary use, I think it says you can renew it once, but can you renew it 3 times if it's 1 year? Can you renew?
Sorry.
No?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you cannot. Council could, whatever term council gives the permit, it can be renewed only once.
But you can come and reapply after that.
That's correct. You would have to, so a simple resolution of council, if it's issued for 1 year, council could reissue it for another year, or if it's for 2 years, for another 2 years with a simple resolution. If they want anything beyond that, it's a full application, so we would have to, again, notify neighbors, and they would have an opportunity to come and speak, et cetera. But just a renewal, isn't that opportunity.
Councillor Barco?
I certainly understand what Councillor Holmes is saying about incentives and disincentives and such, but in this case, I think I have to take the proponent's word at face value. I don't think that the amount of money that they would make from a little bit of wine storage on a multi-million-dollar lakeshore property is really much of a disincentive to proceed with their developments. I figure they're rational business people that want to see the property developed to the best use it can, and that probably isn't wine storage.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Peak?
I'd like to say that in joining of the remarks I had before, highest and best use of this property is really something that the community as a whole would like to see, and certainly from Mr. Jackson's remarks, I would think that the owner is interested in that as well. The only option I could see is doing a friendly amendment and take it for a 1-year term.
Can I get clarity
Just
here for,
clarity here, yeah.
just, do we have a seconder on this one?
No, you didn't ask for one.
So we shouldn't be discussing until we determine
Okay.
whether or not we have a
I think-
seconder.
I seconded it.
That's what I thought.
Okay,
Yeah.
you did,
I
okay.
did, yeah.
I
So
have a
may I-
check mark, but I didn't have a name.
May I
Okay.
put forward a friendly amendment to change the term to 1 year?
Is that actually?
Yes. I think that's acceptable, and we can look at it again this time next year or earlier.
I'm not entirely sure you can call it, it
It's
may
not?
look like a friendly amendment, but it changes the intent of the motion. No, you can't. Isn't that
I
correct?
can answer a lot of these questions, so we can
It's okay.
just talk about it.
Council, CAO? I think is it changes the intent totally of the motion from 1 year to 2 year, or from the 2 year to the 1 year. So it can be regarded friendly in the sense that people don't mind, but it is changing the intent of the motion.
Then, yeah, it's open to interpretation, so you'd have to keep your you could keep your original motion and then amend it or defeat it if you don't accept it as a
Okay,
friendly.
I'd rather see the motion approved or defeated. If it's defeated, we'll take a second motion on the new length of time. Do you have anything particular to say, Councilor?
Yeah, just a question of clarification.
Yes?
So if it's automatic, if it's renewed, if you pass a 2-year one, the next time when you renew it, does it have to be 2 years the second time, or could you then pass a 1 year the second time?
I would have to check on that. I think a renewal is simply exactly the same permit being rolled over. If you're going to change it, then that would be, I believe you would not renew it, entertain a second application, and then issue for a different time period.
But you
we
can do that.
Certainly. There's no obligation to renew it.
We're learning, you see.
Well, then, doesn't matter, 1 year, 2 years, leave it as 2.
Leave it as 2?
It's up to you guys.
No, that's, yeah, my experience is that when you change a motion that much, it's no longer the same motion. You've actually changed the intent of the motion.
I might argue that, but I'm not going to.
Good. So it's kind of up to interpretation, but I'm going to call it.
I'll just say that I think having an opportunity like this for a company such as the one that is hoping to use this space, I think that we should invite them here and let them see if they do enjoy it and want to stay here for the long term, and hopefully if they do, then they'll locate themselves in one of our 3 industrial areas, which is where they likely should be.
Okay.
Aren't
So
we fun?
If you'd rather have the 1 year, you can defeat the motion, okay? Okay, all in favor? How about that? Motion's carried, none opposed, thank you.
2 years.
It's a 2-year time frame for the temporary use. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to, there's no further resolutions, corporate officer? We're done there? Okay. Number 10, correspondence, information items that are listed in the agenda. Any councillor like to bring any of them forward, please? Councillor Holmes.
I would just like to bring forward the 2 letters from the owners of the liquor stores.
Yes.
This is an issue I've been grappling with for a long time, trying to figure out what this means to Summerland's wineries. The change of putting this selling VQA wine in the grocery stores, and it's really hard to get your head around. You know, I think if you wanted to design a regulations to sell wine in grocery stores, and this is probably the most complicated thing you could come up with. So I just want to make a comment. I'm encouraged that the government is still taking advisements and consultations on this, because and people I've asked people in the wine industry here, and you get 30 different answers of how it'll affect them, and Summerland wineries. I don't think they really understand it, and I certainly don't understand it. I've been trying to figure it out in terms of the benefits. So I understand that there's concern about unintended consequences. I understand the concerns of the private liquor stores. I understand that small wineries have concerns, and I think we just have to wait this out, and hopefully the provincial government will provide some clarification, because it is really hard to understand what impact it's going to have.
Yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
Councillor Carlson.
Related but not exactly the same, the letter that does request a bylaw between retailers selling the same thing, I think is something council should be discussing at a future point, not just necessarily with alcoholic beverages, but perhaps with other commercial industry as well, just to have a discussion and look at options anyways.
Thank you. Anything else? Councillor Peak.
I'd like to pull forward the a report on building permits.
On which, I'm sorry?
On building permits.
Yes.
And the increase in the permits show that we are participating in definitely an increased confidence in the economy. When you look at, and I can't move things around on my screen, but anyway, the permits in 2015 at this point are 23 permits. We look back in 2012 and there were 27 permits. I might note that we probably have some more growth going on with some of the subdivisions that we've made approval on. I want to make sure that we're looking at the resources that we have in-house to look after this kind of increased activity. So I just bring that forward as part of our comment.
Thank you. I have a quick question to the planner. That's 23 permits in the last month, correct?
Yes, that is 23 permits in the last month, and if you look at the permit values, while we had 4 more permits in 2012, the value of $3 million is double what we did in 2012.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to note that to date, we're looking at 173 permits versus 117, and virtually double the value of those permits, which really points out quite an uptick in activity. So, anybody else, any comment? Okay. Anyway, that's the kind of statistic I'm sure we're glad to see. So, that's really is encouraging. Okay, no other comments on our correspondence? Okay, could council please bring the recommendation forward?
Oh, there was under one. I have trouble, pardon me, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, I have trouble doing this on a screen. It's one of the things that, there was something about plaques, and I can't just get my eye on money towards.
Number 7, remembering working people.
Yes, that's what it is.
6.
Thank you
Or
very
6,
much. Working people. And I had a suggestion
Yeah.
that I'll just put out there, which is that the Agricultural Pacific Park may very well fit within the criteria for this kind of plaque. And as this is their 100th anniversary year, perhaps that is one that we could put forward as an
Good point.
opportunity.
Good point.
So thank you for bearing with me while I was trying to draw
No
out my
problem.
head since I couldn't find my note.
It's taken me a while to figure. I think the only reason I have any adeptness as I've had more experience at the regional district with the same format, so it's working out well for me. It looks like I know what I'm doing when I'm actually just have more practice.
I don't know how to highlight the
Okay.
bookmarks.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Councillor Peak. Would somebody like to bring that recommendation forward for, to receive the correspondence, please? Councillor Barkwell?
I move that we receive the correspondence for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Peak, thank you. Okay. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. The motion's passed, none opposed. Thank you very much. On to 10.2. CAO?
Before we go to 10.2, we do need a point of clarification on the Advisory Planning Commission minutes. We had a councillor that asked why we had a 2014 minutes in here earlier today, and the day got away, and I didn't follow up with staff on it. So we just need clarification on.
I think it's just simply an error. I didn't catch that till you mentioned it. I'm not sure why that particular list of minutes is on the agenda.
The response to council this morning was that they hadn't met for the year, but that's certainly not true.
That's not the
That they meet regularly. So
I suspect what happened is the proper minutes that should have been in the agenda package were just substituted for this one by some error.
I recommend that we take these off of this and that we double check to make sure that they're legitimate to be on here, because that's a year ago, and that if they are legitimate and they just missed approval, we'll bring them back.
I appreciate that. It was my comment, so I appreciate follow-up.
So do we need a motion to?
For the other two, yeah. We'll just take that one off.
Okay, so we're removing that. We don't need a motion to do that?
No, that's fine, just
Okay.
as, yeah.
Okay, so, all in favor? Thank you. You moved and seconded it. Did we move and second that?
Well, did we have a motion?
No, to receive, you don't yet have a motion to receive the cultural plan task force minutes and the water advisory committee minutes.
Okay, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry. I was back on 10.1 in my head there. Okay, so someone would like to bring the 10.2 recommendation
I move
forward?
that we
Sorry.
accept the cultural plan task force minutes of October 6th and the water advisory committee minutes of October 21st, 2015.
Thank you, Seconder. Councillor Peak, thank you. Any further comments? Why did we do that?
Read those two, okay.
Pardon me?
Go ahead.
All in favor? Thank you. Motion's passed, none opposed. Okay, we're moving on to item 11, Development Services Reports. Mr. Planner.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, before we begin, my family owns property with a shared border affected by this, so I will recuse myself.
Okay, thank you. Okay, should we move ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for a development variance permit for the property at 14608 Washington Avenue. This is a property that is owned by the Mountain View Growers. It's an agricultural parcel. The parcel in question is 4.7 acres in size. There are a number of properties. The subject property is highlighted in red on the screen. The property owners own a number of properties in the area, and they're proposing to build some greenhouses. And the greenhouses shown in red on that particular slide essentially span the two properties. They own about 5 in the area there. So in order to get around to allow for the regulations in our zoning bylaw, they're looking for a variance on the north and the south and the west property boundary, essentially allowing them to line up those new greenhouses with the ones they currently have, and would be at a 0 lot line on the property line that is shared between the two properties. So that is the application before you.
Councillor Peak?
Is there circulation, whether it's 30 meters or 500 or whatever it might be, is there circulation on this application?
Oh, yes, the property, all the properties within 30 meters of the subject property have been notified, most of which are owned by the proponent.
Were there any comments?
I'm not aware of any comments that have been received.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the planner?
we'll just, as it's a development variance permit, we need to call from representations from
Okay,
the public.
thank you, Mr. Planner. Any other proponents like to speak, please, to this? Hearing none, we'll move ahead. Okay, would someone like to move this forward, please? Councillor Peak.
Yes, thank you. Council passed the following resolution: the development variance permit application for Lot 1 DL 3640 ODYD Plan 54101 to vary Section 8.1.6B of zoning bylaw number 2000-450 to reduce the minimum interior south side yard setback to 6.0 meters, minimum interior north side yard setback to 16.0 meters, and the minimum rear yard setback to 0.0 be approved.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Peak.
As this is a business that has been ongoing for over 20 years, or 27 years or something, I think it's very reasonable what they're looking to do and have some expansion on the property they have. And as there have been no comments received from any public in the area, I have no problem supporting this.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. No further discussion or anything? Okay, we'll move ahead. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's carried. None opposed. Thank you very much. Can you bring Councillor Carlson in, please? Good. Okay, moving on to 11.2, environmental assessment of Prairie Valley West lands. Mr. Planner, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This environmental assessment was carried out on the property you see on the screen there, which is the district-owned lands in the West Prairie Valley area. All those lands, as well as any lands in Summerland that have been undisturbed, are in an environmentally sensitive development permit area. And what that means is that if you want to disturb previously undisturbed land, you have to have an environmental assessment undertaken to identify any particular environmental values that may exist on the property. So as this was the interest of some potential use by the municipality, that report was commissioned. We had 3 bidders providing us with costs. We selected the most qualified. They went out and did an extensive environmental assessment, which is on the agenda now for acceptance. And if you have any questions on that document, we have our shared environmental planner in the gallery to help explain anything that requires explanation. Just as a point, this slide shows the agricultural land reserve limit in the area. And this particular slide shows the environmental values, the red being the most sensitive and shouldn't be disturbed. The orange or brown color is the second most sensitive and should be avoided at all cost if possible. And then the yellow and the green are the least sensitive and could be available for development if need be.
Thank you. Any questions of staff or of our biologists? Might as well get to the stand,
Sure.
Alison, just in case.
Certainly.
Councillor Peak.
Allison, if you could better delineate the requirements of both the gold and the yellow and the green zones. I sort of understand red as being super sensitive and you wouldn't place anything in that area.
So every community addresses this in a somewhat different way. So you work through your official community plan, and so there's direction in the community plan around getting designation of the 4 zones, the 4 ESA zones that are those 4 colors you saw. And then there's the terms of reference that's provided to the environmental professional, and that person makes an interpretation of what the 4 zones would be. And consistent with the terms of reference that Summerland has, the direction is to avoid the red areas, so the ESA ones, and some impacts are acceptable within the ESA2s. A typical example would be where you needed to bring a road into a lot, and the terrain was such that in order to get the appropriate slopes to move into that without causing undue erosion, you would need to go through an ESA2 area. That would be a situation where most communities would say, yeah, that's a reasonable thing to do. Maybe a comparison that could also be helpful was in the Hunters Hill development. The majority of that development is ESA 1 and 2, and in that case there is potential for impacts in those areas, but that's a bit of a different kettle of fish because the zoning decisions were made historically, and so there was no capacity or limited capacity to completely avoid areas like that. But when you start with the environmental assessment and use that as the framework to build an appropriate proposal for development, then the terms of reference indicate to avoid those red areas and to minimize the impacts on the green areas.
Councillor Carlson.
What kind of tools do we have to point out that red area and perhaps protect it? I'm thinking from motorized vehicles, even from mountain bike trails. I know it's becoming really popular to build more and more of these trails. Is there something recommended that can make it more obvious faster?
I think I could probably answer that question, Mr. Mayor. And as this is district land, there are a number of tools we have, development permit being the first one, zoning being the second, and of course fencing is the most effective, and signage, which, as it's our land, could be done if at the wish of council.
Anything else? Councillor Holmes.
The slivers of green and yellow going up into the hills, are those trails? What?
No,
No,
not
necessarily.
as straightforward as that. Do we want to use the PowerPoint?
Yes,
We did anticipate that we were discussing this, that one of the challenges, if you folks recall the presentation this morning at the Committee of the Whole when Bryn talked about the bathtub ring. So we have the community of Summerland, and then we have areas that are largely undeveloped in a ring around the community. And that area is grasslands, and she talked about the sensitivity of those areas. So if you're not a wildlife biologist or somebody trained in looking at plant communities, to some extent those bathtub ring lands may look very similar no matter where you are. And so some people look at those areas and say, well, what's so special about one area versus another? So we put together a bit of a presentation. I just wanted to give you, this is using the example of the environmental assessment that you got that was done by someone who's local and who does environmental assessments for developers as well. And there isn't a completely standardized methodology for using or for doing environmental impact assessments. There's slight variations. There's some room for creativity in the way that people take them. But in this particular example, what they did was just the company that did it established some criteria for determining environmental impacts. And so there are basically two types of criteria. One relates to the habitat itself and the values around that, how rare those habitats are. We know something about plant communities and mapping, so we know whether things are common in the environment around the Okanagan. And we know conditions, so has it been affected by things like trails, like you suggested. We also know whether it's how fragile it is, and sort of the development of structure within communities is very important to its ability to support species at risk and other things. So that's the other part of it, looking at wildlife suitability and species at risk. So there was criteria for that. Can we do the next? I guess I can do this, can't I? So some example pictures from the actual site of the red blob, environmentally sensitive area 1, the qualities that you see on that site that make it an environmentally sensitive area 1 would be specifically the presence of wildlife trees is one thing that you see. That's where they're most common, and you see trees everything from very small, just starting to grow, all the way through the structural stages to decaying trees like this one, and you see signs of woodpecker and other wildlife use on those trees. You also see something called cryptogrammic crust, which is kind of the natural it's a combination of cyanobacteria and fungus that basically lives in between the bunchgrass plants, and that's what it is often affected by land use and has high values. And then you just see this general open quality of grasslands with a fair number of large trees and not so many in the other categories. So then, I guess I'm not hitting the right button. Do you want to do the? So environmentally sensitive area 2, you know, depending on what you see in this picture, for me as a wildlife biologist, I noticed that grassland looks a little bit more disturbed. You see some areas where the grass is shorter. There's signs that potentially there could have been some land use in areas. Some of the soils may be compacted and less likely to grow taller vegetation. There could be historical grazing impacts. There could be current grazing impacts, or they could just be disturbance of people walking. The lower right-hand side shows that there's signs of pocket gopher activity, and that's both a positive and a negative. Positive from a wildlife diversity point of view, sometimes promotes the growth of invasive species. ESA areas also include aspen, which has high values for wildlife. As those aspen trees get larger, then they'll also decay and create wildlife habitat. Next slide. So these areas are the ones that we were looking at that are by the road. The less disturbed areas in proximity to the dump, for example, so north of the dump. You can see to the left of me, I'm bending over looking down at a plant. To the left side, you can see more disturbance, and then on the right, the plants are taller. It's a bit of a different kind of community, not as common, or more common in the area. So you get yellow stem ceanothus in the area rather than the more the sagebrush type with the rabbit brush growing and blooming. You can see signs of garbage on this site. You can see accumulation of litter. There's a bunch of pine needles in there. You can't see the cryptogrammic crust. You also see a lot of small little trees, which the biologists in the area often refer to as silviculture slums. So under poor fire conditions where you're not having frequent fires, you get a lot of small trees grow up at the same time. They don't naturally thin out, and then you get these sort of medium-sized trees. Fire runs through there, hotter. It's not the sort of natural type ecosystem. What I will say about these areas is they have really, really high deer use. Like when I walked in there, you basically couldn't move from one foot to another without hitting a pile of droppings. So there's a lot of mule deer living in this area, and I would anticipate that were this area to be developed, that might shift your deer to another location, and there might be stakeholders that would be concerned about that implication. So while it does certainly show signs of human impact, it also has some significant wildlife values. Last slide. So then this is very much more straightforward. So the difference perhaps between 2 and 3 is not as profound as the difference between 2, 3 versus 4, where you see lots of signs of human impact. And there might be occasional trails in the, like we're seeing in large numbers in this area, in the ESA 3 area, but they wouldn't be as intensive. So basically, the use by ATVs in this area has removed the ground cover to the point where it's basically trees, and then on the ground you see occasional little suppressed shrubs, a few little plants. The dominant plant cover would be things like cheatgrass, which is an invasive in the area, so not natural, not native. From a wildlife perspective, not a ton of value left here. This also could be rehabilitated, would take a lot longer to rehabilitate, and I guess my concern around development would be, where did the current ATV users go? Did they go across the road? Did they go to the high value site? That could be definitely a concern. So hopefully that, I know that's a longer answer to your question, but
That's great.
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Councillor Holmes?
Do you find much evidence of free roaming horses in that area?
there is some evidence, yes. Are you folks familiar with the efforts that PIB's been going to? So my understanding is the horse population has been substantially reduced. as part of my shared planner role, I am working with PIB on a restoration project for grasslands that are in behind Summerland on reserve properties, on the Roddy Flats property. And so we are moving forward to support the planners and biologists that the Penticton Indian Band has to do some thinking around how to improve grasslands in those areas. So my understanding is there's a lot fewer horses already. But yes, there definitely are horse impacts.
Councillor Boo.
I was just wondering, Allison, if you will be attending the Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting on the 12th, I think it is. Yes, this Thursday, November the 12th, where they're going to be discussing the potential land uses for the Prairie Valley West area, the area under question.
I hadn't contemplated doing that, so I wasn't aware of that specific discussion.
I'm just wondering if maybe it would be, I don't know, this obviously is not my bailiwick, but I'm just suggesting that the information that you've provided us here, giving us more information on and the details on the ESA 1 through 4 might be something that would be of value for this meeting as well.
Okay. That's certainly something if Summerland District would like our help and that's appropriate, then I'm certainly willing to support that. I did, one of the questions Ian and I in discussions trying to anticipate what your questions might be, I do have some comments like that which I could share with that group, I could share with you. Just to clarify again, I know I've spoken to you before, but for the sake of the audience and for you again, as a reminder, although I am contracted through SOSCP, I provide you guys with advice that's for you as a professional biologist. It's not my role to say, don't do this or do that on a property. My role is to help you understand the environmental implications of that. So, that's certainly something I could advise the Agricultural Committee, or if you'd like to understand kind of how I add this assessment up in terms of environmental implications, I could do that too. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Trainer.
This is a question for the planner. I'm just wondering what happens with this report now?
This report, if council receives it, will go into our archive. It becomes a piece of information that we'll be using as we speak to the different stakeholder groups around what uses might be appropriate out in that area. This will certainly be a board and a map that shows the environmental values that are out there.
Okay.
And it will inform any decisions that council might make on this property as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that given that this information became available in, I believe, June.
I think it was July, but in that area.
At any rate, it's a pretty critical information in terms of the consultation that needs to take place in West Prairie Valley. And I think it's interesting that the area in question is, not in the agricultural land reserve, so it does provide options for consideration. And I think this study is critical to how this area will be discussed. So it's very good to have this information in hand. What I do notice, looking at the map, Allison, is that there's pretty intense polygon examination. Like you've got pretty small areas out there, which is interesting, particularly as you get over closer to Deer Ridge. There's lots of. Do you identify? I mean, I see the polygons there, but it's all the same color. So, what's being identified in those? It's just different species within that area.
So, if you remember back to the criteria slide, what the impact assessment process went through was to look at a variety of factors and essentially compare the different features on each site. So to some extent, those polygons are a reflection. The polygon definitions begin with an underlying understanding of the plant communities.
Right.
But they're then, and so they have overview, sort of gross scale mapping, and then biologists will go onto the site and look more specifically to see if the mapping at a higher scale matches what you see on the ground. And there's a certain level of interpretation, and there are several mapping products that people look at. So they look at terrestrial ecosystem mapping, they look at other things, sensitive ecosystem mapping, they look at the biodiversity strategy mapping, whatever other tools they have. And then from that, they identify polygons. And different professionals, there are certainly lumpers and splitters. So some professionals, again, bringing back to the Hunters Hill site, that professional I would describe as more of a lumper. So, and whether you split polygons also is a reflection of your understanding of the proposed development. So when you know specifically that there's a development proposal in mind, sometimes that affects the way you identify the polygons because you know the intended land use and you consider within the context of that. So for example, if you were going to apply cluster development and you knew that there was going to be a fairly fine grain with respect to how you're locating housing sites, you might go to the extra effort and cost of being more specific about areas. Whereas if the intention is to clear the entire area and it's all or nothing, then essentially you look at it from a broad scale and say, is this green and are there significant sensitive ecosystems here or not? And if not, then, another professional, in a coarse sense, if you looked at this site, it's dominated by ESA 1 and 2. Similar to all the grasslands that are in the bathtub ring, which is not my way of saying you shouldn't ever consider developing anything in the ring around Summerland. But it means that you have some extra challenges around how to do that with a sensitivity to environmental values.
The other question I had is looking at the red area, the ESA 1. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it, but I'm just sort of trying in my head to look at how much disturbance there's been with trails, etc.
Yeah.
Because it strikes me that, we saw some examples this morning of remediation that actually happened quite quickly, which kind of shocked me as to how quickly, if appropriate efforts are made, that you would see impact of remediation.
So the pictures that Bryn showed you, is that what you're
but I look at this red area and I'm fairly conscious that there's some activity through there. So it seems like fencing might be an option down the road that we would have to look at.
To consider a mechanism to exclude horses or other livestock grazing.
Well, livestock or other activity.
Sure. So I mean, I think there are a variety of tools. I think Ian's familiar with some of them, like park management or other things that are out there. A couple comments I'd make. One is the more water there is on the site, the faster it recovers. So grasslands can be really slow to recover depending on how impacted they are, but I would say certainly the all but the areas that are most impacted by ATV use, the ESA 1, 2s, and 3s, I think are relatively straightforward to recover. I'm not sure. I think you need a specialist to have a look at the 4 and really get into the nitty-gritty of how those soils have been affected and think about that. I mean, it's certainly a lot of our grasslands in the 30s were very strongly affected by lack of water and heavy grazing and that sort of thing around communities. And some of those grasslands still bear the signs of that impact, 80 years into the future, but they certainly look very healthy in comparison to what we see today. So just a caution, I guess, it's not an instant solution.
Okay, thank you. I think this is going to be great information as we move forward anyway. I'm glad we have it. Any further comments from council? Or questions, I'm sorry. Councillor Barker?
I raised my hand when you said comments because it is more of a comment. I agree with your comments and Councillor Aaron's. Mix up my Aaron's. Carlson. And I think that we should do something to protect the red area ASAP. As soon as somebody puts an ATV trail through there, the knapweed moves in, and it's the invasive species that are really kind of bothering me these days. And they could be there tomorrow if we don't, do something. So however staff can propose that we do that, I'd hope to see something soon.
I think it's all part of the discussion that we're having, and I think the fact that we kind of held back, the consultation process to some degree on West Prairie Valley has, been a real bonus in terms of having this information. for us.
I'm suggesting that perhaps we can agree that we could save that and take measures to save that particular portion before we figure out what we're going to do with the
Well,
rest and
I
not
think
wait.
that'll be part of
Yeah.
the discussion. I think this sets up the parameters for that. Okay, could I have a mover, please, or to bring this forward and
Thanks,
to
Allison.
receive the information, please? Councillor Holmes.
I move that the environmental assessment of Prairie Valley West area of Summerland report attached to Schedule A to the report dated November 9th, 2015 from the Director of Development Services be received for information.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion? Oh, hearing none. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed. Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Allison. That was very informative. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 12, 12.1, Headwater Lakes Crown Land Tenure, CAO.
I think corporate.
Speak to.
Oh, corporate officer, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's fine.
The existing temporary use permit for the roads around the Headwater Lakes, which are used by district staff for maintenance of that area, it has expired, and the Crown has sent us the replacement document, which is a license of occupation, which is a typical document for this sort of use of Crown land. The term would be for 10 years. The content of the two documents is basically the same, just reorganized since 10 years have gone by.
Gotcha.
Seeking
So it's
council's
a sort of a bookkeeping thing to
a renewal
the
of.
renewal of the license, yeah. Okay, thank you. Councillor Carlson.
I will move that the application by the District of Summerland for a license of occupation from the province for 4 hectares of Crown land in the vicinity of Headwaters Lakes be supported, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute all documents related to this matter.
Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, sorry. Any further discussion?
You can ask now.
You can ask
Go
now.
for it. I think we can move ahead.
Go
You
for
guys-
it.
You guys sorted your identities out now? Thank
He's
you.
got questions.
All in, Councillor Booth.
Is the usual term 10 years? Was that the term of the temporary use permit from last time?
I believe the previous one was as well 10 years.
10 years, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Did you
Thank
read
you.
it?
Motion's carried, none opposed. Thank you very much. 12.2, CAO.
So we've, as you can see, submitted a schedule of proposed council meetings, both in calendar form and in just a listing form. We've as per our procedure bylaws, second and fourth Monday of each month. Tuesdays when it falls a statutory holiday. Unfortunately, the way it falls this time, we have February, March, May, and October. We have Tuesday meetings. Should we continue with our second and fourth Monday? Council should know that you can always amend if you don't like Monday meetings at 7 o'clock, you can amend your procedures by them. There's nothing that says this is when they have to be, other than that. We have canceled the September on here, we've proposed canceling that second,
That's right.
right, but UBCM is actually after that meeting, and I missed that when she was reviewing with me, because the 19th would be the meeting? Oh, no, sorry, that's right, I'm sorry, I was looking at the red. So we've canceled the 26th, because of course we wouldn't be here for that meeting. And we have not canceled any summer, we don't have a summer break. It's very typical that councils do, but not always. So it's just, those are just discussion items if council wanted to have any discussion. Other than that, this would be sort of similar to what we've been doing.
Thank you. Any comments? Councillor Peak.
I don't know if there's any appetite to change and have a second meeting that might be a day meeting as opposed to an evening meeting.
For a
I've seen
regular
that work
council.
for a regular council meeting. Make it a day meeting on the second, whatever. as opposed to an evening meeting, and I put that out for if there's any appetite for discussion. I must admit, this council is extremely busy. I don't see how we could very well do a break in the summer, because it would pile up all the work for other meetings. It's kind of difficult depending on the flow of what's going on. That's just a comment, but I wonder if there's any appetite for changing one of the meetings per month to a daytime meeting as opposed to an evening.
Councillor Carlson.
I already attend too many daytime meetings, so I would rather just stick to this schedule.
Can I
Me too.
can I make a comment about the summer break, just in relation to the summer break? I think that's a very fair comment for municipalities that do take a summer break. You quite often find that you have to do special meetings. So as council knows, that if it's light, you can cancel a meeting as it's coming. So if it just seems like the schedule works that you could cancel it as it comes. But typically you would need a special meeting anyway.
I think also it's recognized that if councillors can't be present due to a holiday commitment or something like that in the summertime, there are a certain number of meetings you are allowed to miss, as long as there's a quorum. There's no difficulty with doing that, so there is certainly flexibility for councillors.
Right, it used to be that more holidays were taken by staff during the summer, so it was, but now they tend to be more distributed through the year, so staff is able to do the reports.
Okay, thank you. So, someone like to bring that recommendation forward? Councillor Traynor.
That the proposed 2016 council meeting schedule as referenced in attachment A to the report dated November 2nd, 2015 from the Deputy Corporate Officer be approved.
Seconder, please. Councillor Barkle. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? No. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's passed and opposed. Okay, 12.3 CAO. I guess we move to our CFO.
So, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you tonight, we have a report on the financial results to the end of the third quarter, so September the 30th. I'd like to just make a few comments on the items that are included in the report. So for the revenues to the end of September, for those that are, revenues recognized equally throughout the year, you'd expect the district to be at about 75% of the revenues. You can see in the general fund where taxation is the major portion of the revenue that we're just above 95%. So that is expected as all taxation revenues have been recorded, and also all penalties on taxes have now been recorded, and those are levied once the due date passes, which is the first Friday in July. The water utility is at 85% of budget. So I did a bit of analysis on that and could see that this is our first year of having the metered water consumption, and people's use may be changing as we're going through this first year of bills based on metered consumption. So based on what we saw in the first quarter of the year where there's no outdoor watering, if that same usage holds for the last quarter, I'm expecting that we may see water revenues exceeding the budget by around $50,000, but we won't know for sure until we get to the end of the year. As well, in the electrical utility, there is an opportunity there since our revenues now are at 74% of the budget. With colder weather coming, we may see an uptick in the last quarter that could put us above budget for revenues in that fund as well. Building permit revenues, we had discussion earlier tonight about the activity in building permits, and we have already surpassed the budget by just under $43,000, and it's estimated that the final quarter is going to have revenues in the neighborhood of $48,000. So those additional revenues come with some need for additional staffing, and building inspection costs for labor are already at 83.5% of the budget, and we have had some additional man hours for sure in the last bit with temporary staff coming in to work a couple of days a week to help with the backlog caused by the increase in volume. So it is expected, though, that these additional revenues will more than be sufficient to cover any additional costs that we have for staffing. On the expense side, I think my only comment there is going to be that
For the most part, you would be, for our programs that run on a linear fashion, you'd expect us to be at 75% of budget. And almost every department is under 70%. So, we've got a couple that are in the low 70s. So we're certainly nowhere that I see us being in trouble in terms of budget on the expenditure side. So I think I'll leave it at that for the revenues and expenditures. There's certainly lots of information available in more detail for each of the funds. And there's also a summary of the capital and operating projects and the status up to the end of September for those projects. There's some comments included on the listing. So if council has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions of our CFO? Councillor Barkle.
Yeah, the water fund has a sundry, a large amount in the sundry. What was that again?
So let me find that page. Oops. If I have a note on it. In the sundry revenue, is that what you're talking about? Do you have a page on your agenda that you're looking at?
I flipped away from it looking for something else.
149.
Oh,
At 144,
yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
That category includes the environmental fee, so there is a fee that's charged on each utility billing account, and that's where the revenues for that are recorded. So the budget for that, I'll pull up a spreadsheet and get some detail on it here. Sorry for the delay. I'll just access this file.
It's going to be connections and things.
Sometimes paper's better.
Well, if we knew in advance every question that was going to come,
I'm sorry.
we could bring every paper, but
It's my inside voice.
yeah. So the environmental levy is $209,000 budget, and we were just at about 3/4 of that for the year. So that's certainly the major part of that $250,000 budget line item. And the other items that are in there are turn-offs and turn-ons, and really it's just a few recoveries. So it's the major component. It's the environmental levy.
So the 50,000 surplus is entirely on the domestic revenue, not because the irrigation one is pretty easy to predict.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, at the end of the year, there'll be a report coming to council for your decision on what any net surplus from the results for the year, how you'd like to have them dealt with. You'd have discussion at that time and an opportunity to make some decisions.
Any other questions? Seeing none, could someone like to bring the recommendation motion forward? So you're jumping in
more
with a question?
question.
Go ahead.
Okay. On the debt charges, the year-to-date principal and interest is exactly the same numbers as the previous year's total. Page.
Which fund are you looking at?
In the general. Whoops,
General?
sorry, I'm having trouble flipping around as well. I think it was in the general fund.
So where the debt payments are made throughout the year, they're not done equally, and if we were finished, we would be at the same point. I'm just not sure which.
Okay, I'm on page.
44.
A second, I'm going to do it carefully so I don't go too fast and lose the. Page 144, yes.
Yep.
Principal and interest charges, debt charges for the sort of comparing last year's and this year's and budget on that.
Let me look into those numbers and see if we have maybe a link in the spreadsheet that didn't update properly, because that is odd. We do have some debt charges that are paid in the last bit of the year. So I'll confirm that number and get back to you.
I think there must be a broken link or something.
That's what I think too when I look at it now in the spreadsheet.
Okay, anything else? No, good. Would someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Barkle.
That we accept the CFO's report for the 3/4 of the year to date.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes? Any further discussion? I think I'd just like to add that it's, positive notes, I think, looking at the fact that we don't have all the data yet, but at the same time, to see, we haven't reached 75% of expenses, for example, and yet on some of the revenues, we are on a good side. So it looks like we're moving in the appropriate directions in both sectors to end up with a much better, a good result at the end of the year. Am I reading that pretty much right?
Absolutely. Just one caution, though, would be that, on the expense side, if there are invoices out in the departments that we haven't yet processed yet, had hit finance to get processed, and that does happen, then our numbers may show a better picture on the expenses than we'll see at the end of the year, where we have that opportunity to get a better cutoff.
Okay.
So cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Just these glasses, I forget which color they are.
Rose.
Must be rose colored. Okay, mover, please. Did we do that?
No.
We haven't.
Seconder?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Motion's passed. And we can move ahead to any new business, corporate officer? Oh, okay. No, I thought we were gonna do that at 14.2, so it's 12.
13.1 will be this.
13.1, okay. Okay, there's something that's come in the news lately, of course, and that's concern about the school district's deliberations on their financial picture and potential for school closures throughout the district. And I know from, I guess it's about December 12th through till early January, they're having meetings and for public input and so on. But there are, there's a potential concern. John said school has been addressed as a potential closure, and anything along these lines, of course, affects the community. And I think council should be concerned about this and perhaps be prepared to put those concerns in writing and submit something to the school district to that effect. Because when we look at Giants Head School, for example, it's full. Maybe that's one of the reasons why there's potential to look at the middle school. But at the same time, when families move and buy homes and so on and so forth in a particular catchment area, they're looking at the proximity to schools as always being a selling point for housing for families. So for people who have moved ahead and done that in the Giants Head School area, to have any suggestion of change, of course, is a dislocation of their anticipations for their family involvement in the school system. So I guess, and on top of that, past council put a lot of effort into upgrading Prairie Valley Road. We put upgrades into safety measures around the school, particularly for allowing buses to pull in properly and allow students to exit safely. In addition to that, sidewalks were purposely put on both sides of the road to allow more safety, and they're good wide sidewalks. In addition to that, we put in special pedestrian lights that give warnings and are operated by the students and by pedestrians. So a lot of input has gone into addressing the safety of students and young people and families in the area of Giants Head. So I think, we need to express some concern about the potential that the school district may be addressing here. Does council have any desire to move ahead in that vein? Councillor Peak and then Councillor Carlson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the first meeting, which was the consultation. They had their consultant who did the report on the capacities of the school. And it was well presented, and there was a lot of discussion at the meeting. We weren't able to get to the next one because we had a council meeting. But in looking at both reports and in also hearing from the chairman, Linda Van Elfen, at our directors meeting at the chamber, and listening and speaking to families throughout the community that I've run into since then, there's certainly some regard for the fact that the school, the District 67, has a difficult decision to make, because there just aren't as many children being born, and the capacity within the school buildings themselves has certainly decreased. I think that they are going to have a look at the suggestions and options that they have put forward. They're looking for community input. I hesitate to speak in advance of that consultation from a counselor point of view, because if we were in the same boat, we would hope that we have those discussions and receive the inputs to be able to make the decision. Perhaps some expression of concern for the fact that there might be a closure, but the fact that it also, if Giants Head did close, that we still retain the students within our community is more important, I think, than perhaps how the school board addresses the issues of capacity and costs. So I have some dichotomy on how we might address that to the school board.
Thank you. Councillor Carlson first, then Councillor Holmes.
Just thought I'd mention that the meeting at Giants Head School is on the 12th, which is Thursday. So I guess the first step would be to sit and listen and find out what the discussion is and see where we can move in from there. I think it would be a travesty to close a school in Summerland, because it seems a little bit short-sighted, so I guess we'll listen for a while.
Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the other two councillors who've spoken. I believe the first session on Thursday is what they call a think tank. So it's a discussion on different ideas, and then there'll be further public meetings after that with more concrete ideas, proposals. I think, for us and as a community, the important, the vital thing is that Summerland kids stay in Summerland. That we don't want to get them kids end up being bused to Penticton, right? To me, that's the priority, right? That is keeping those kids here, and I think the school district is sensitive to that. They do talk about catchment areas as being as one of their criteria, and it is a really complicated issue because, for example, they can't get. We've long talked for years about how we need to upgrade the gym in the secondary school, right? But they can't get provincial funding to upgrade that gym if it's below capacity, and it is. It's way below capacity, right? The middle school's way below capacity. So there could be actually, I don't advocate closing a school in Summerland at all, but if you're able to get those other schools up to capacity, such as the high school, then maybe you'll see investment in upgrading those schools too. So there's two sides to the coin. It's not that they have a really hard decision to make, and I don't envy the position they're in. They really have a gun to their head, and if we really want to start writing letters, we should start with the Ministry of Education for why they're underinvesting in education as much as they are. That's where the real problem lies. I don't think it's a decline in student population is the problem. I think it's the cuts that have been made in education. So I would hold off myself.
Anybody else? Any comments? I guess something as severe as busing elementary students to Penticton was so far from my mind. That wasn't my concern at this point. My concern was children and families now who can walk to Giants Head to send a grade 1, 2, or 3 to trot off to the middle school from the area of St. Clair, Saunders, in that area where Giants Head serves is certainly going to make it difficult. And I think we'll have to, take this into consideration. I brought it forward tonight just for discussion. Perhaps we can, see what happens at public meetings. But I think we do have an obligation to the residents of Summerland to carefully adjudicate the process and look at the options that our families might be facing. Because I would be pretty darn annoyed if I had just bought a house in that area with the intent of my children under the age of 10, 2 of which perhaps may attend Giants Head School. And all of a sudden, all those plans are dislocated because the school is too full. In fact, it's being too successful. Therefore, it allows for movement of students within the district to satisfy some areas that may not be as full. So I think, there's question here, and I think council needs to be able to certainly show concern for the school district's dilemma. And I think they've got a tough time, and I agree with you, Councillor Holmes. There's measures beyond the school district that make life difficult for the schools and the school district. But I certainly have to sort of stand with our own residents and families for the decisions they've made, and try and impress upon the school district that we do have concerns about how our families are addressed in the school system. Councillor Boot.
There is a bit of a balance, though. The families that may be affected by Giants Head School closing, and the having to go down to the middle school, that middle school, my understanding is that the option that concerns Summerland is that middle school will become the elementary school, and that the placement of that new elementary school there are a number of children living within that area that will now be able to walk rather than having bused or being dropped off or whatever at Giants Head. So it's not, although it affects those families, it positively affects families that are in closer to what is now our middle school.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Holmes.
If I could just tell a little personal story about when I first moved to Summerland. We moved into a house just right down the street from Trout Creek School, and at that time the French school system was in Trout Creek School, and we were quite excited about that because we were putting our kids into the French system. And we went to talk to the principal at the time, and she said to us, "I've got great news. You're the first people to hear it. We're telling. We've got our own school. We're moving to Penticton," and our jaws just dropped because we'd moved there specifically to be right next to the French school, and that was in Trout Creek. So Summerland has gone through this kind of process before, I think. But as Councillor Boots said, that middle school is such a amazing facility. It is new. It is. What it offers in terms of an elementary school, a new element. If I was a parent and I had a child of mine could go to that school, I'd be very excited. Whereas compared to an older school, that's so. I'm just saying there's two sides to looking at these things.
I wanted to have the discussion. It may be a little premature because, I think there is, from what I understand, some thoughts around the idea of creating sort of the junior high, senior high situation again, and moving away from the sort of system we have right now in terms of how the schools are populated. So, but this may be an ongoing discussion. We may have this again, but I wanted to bring it up as a discussion point, and if there's no sort of appetite or at this point, because we can see what develops, and if we need to, perhaps down the road, we may want to address the situation further. Councillor Barkle.
I do agree we got to watch it quite carefully, that maybe some lobby group from Penticton lobbies successfully and hard for a decision that isn't entirely rational and is against what Summerland's interests are. We can't count on the fact that the school board isn't influenced by, say, louder voices somewhere else that would not necessarily make for the best choice. So we got to watch it and speak up if we see something.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
Councillor Barkwell, that's precisely why I
Yeah.
brought it up this evening,
Yeah.
because it is very prominent in the news and the discussions the school district's having. I'm glad they're having the consultation meetings that they're having and information meetings. But we want to be able to participate in whatever way is going to be resulting in fair balance for things, as well as the best outcome for our students, because we do want to see facilities used. So I think it's just a point that we'll keep our ears to the ground and be in discussion and perhaps participate in some of these meetings to determine what, if any, input may be required. So anyway, that's why I brought it forward, and I think we'll leave it at that for now, if that's okay. So CAO, we're
Next, we have one more late item.
one more late item, which is...
And that, did you want?
Everyone's been provided a copy?
So I'll just speak to this one. The council just got this one. This is for the local sanitary sewer service at 6003 Dale Avenue. Unfortunately, this item got missed. Council approved, we're going forward with the subdivision at, sorry. We'll just wait for Ian, sorry.
Okay.
At Lighthouse Landing. And this is the bylaw that allows it to connect into the service area. So the subdivision's been, we've been moving all along, and we had approval to move forward with the local service area, but we didn't actually do the bylaw. And they can't get final subdivision approval without having this formally adopted by council. So council's already approved it in principle. Now they've been petitioned. It's only one property owner at this point in time, so it only took that was greater than 50% with his response, and now we need to do the bylaw, and the legislation says that council must pass a bylaw once it's a successful petition. So, but we had to bring it here.
Okay, Councillor
Well, in that case, I will move that local sanitary sewer service area at 6003 Dale Avenue, bylaw number 2015-032, be introduced and read a first, second, and third time.
Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion required? I don't think so.
So this is identical to the bylaw we did for the Woodbridge property then, I presume?
That's right. Yeah, other than the numbers in it for the amounts, yeah.
Okay, no further discussion? We have a seconder?
You got it already.
Okay, right, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Thank you, none opposed? Thank you very much, motion's carried. So that's all we have, corporate officer, for late items?
It is.
Okay, so we're moving ahead with 14.1.
And that's just simply an adoption.
Okay. So would someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Carlson?
I'm fastest. Okay, I will move that council pass the following resolution, that bylaw number 2015-024, amendment of zoning bylaw number 2000-450 for breweries, distilleries, and meaderies be adopted.
Seconder, please. Councillor Barkwell, thank you. Okay, since it's for adoption, we should be able to move ahead. All in favor? Thank you. None opposed? Motion's carried.
It's gonna be delicious. Honey meaderies.
Okay, we're into councillor reports. Councillor Trainer. Did we start with you last time?
Oh,
We
we
did.
started with
We're gonna bounce over to
Yeah.
Councillor Peak then, sorry. If I do that too
I'm
many times.
always writing mine at the last minute. It's the last thing I ever do. I was able to attend the Total Summit. It's like a conference in Kelowna, and I was very pleased to be able to attend that. It certainly put in perspective the tourism component of what our chamber does, and some reinforcements around some of the changes they're doing. They're adopting different kinds of feelings to the photography and the kinds of things and the lettering they put out. They're doing some fine tuning. They're changing the names of what they do. So they're doing destination tourism, which was a little different than what they had before. I just want to make comment. You know, TOTA has reports that report that in the Okanagan, Thompson Okanagan tourism area, that tourism is actually $1.7 billion. And of that, 3% is allotted to what we have in Summerland, which is about $50 million. And in that, they estimate that we have 500 direct and indirect jobs. It certainly reflects on how important the tourism industry is to our economy. So I just mentioned that in terms of some of the things I picked up in the day and a half. It was jam-packed, a lot of information. If you don't work in that sector, there's just a lot to understand. We had a property tax exemption meeting to adopt the bylaw. I've attended cultural task force meetings as well as the task force workshop on heritage, which was very interesting, and lots of good ideas came out of it. We've worked on our council strategic plan. We'll continue to do that. And I'd like to commend the Legion. On the first Saturday of every month, they have a wonderful pancake breakfast, which I attended for the first time this weekend. Ate well, and I'd have to say that they are most welcoming volunteers. So I'd like to recommend that to anyone who wants a good breakfast on the first Saturday of any month.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. I attended the irrigator water open house that the mayor mentioned in his report, and I just wanted to say that I really thought staff did a really great job of explaining the different things. They were really knowledgeable on what is actually quite a complicated issue, and I learned quite a bit myself attending that open house. So I really appreciate that and look forward to the other open houses. I attended quite a few of the Cultural Plan Task Force community conversations we were right into the thick of it now, of our consultations. The last couple of weeks we had literary arts, visual and performing arts, and heritage, so the real meat of culture. And these sessions, they're real brainstorming sessions with the community, and they're just fantastic. There's really some really innovative ideas coming out to create a more vibrant community. And there's some real big ticket ideas, but there's also so many really small, simple ideas that don't really have a whole lot of cost associated with. And one of my favorites that came out in the heritage, an idea that came out in our heritage conversation was this idea of placing old photographs of downtown buildings in the store windows of the existing buildings, so people can see what they were originally. Little things like that. Just really neat. We just have to figure out how we're going to kind of coordinate and implement all these kind of fantastic ideas that come up. So coming up tomorrow, we'll have a conversation about seniors and their place in culture, the community. Following next week on Monday, there'll be one on youth and social and community services and the environment. So how these all relate to a local culture. So that's all coming up in the next week or so. And I also did want to mention the public consultation meeting at Giants Head School on Thursday. That's at 7:00, and I really encourage people to make their views known to the school district, and I'll be at that meeting. Thanks.
I've done a lot of things in the last couple of weeks, but I think the most fun and most exciting thing is I think I've been to the library about 6 or 8 times, and it's probably the best thing that's happened in this town in a very long time. So that's probably the highlight of the fall for me, and I could go on about other stuff, but I'll pass it on.
Councillor Booth.
I attended the strategic planning session for RDOS in addition to ours, and just to start, we're by no means done with that. I also attended last Tuesday the Okanagan-Similkameen Healthy Living Coalition meeting. I'm one of the directors, and Our coordinator, Angelique Wood, brought forward an idea for a March break kind of 2016 project, and that is to work with the Penticton Indian Band in formulating a food security symposium. And then the discussion, our CAO of RDOS, Bill Newell, was there as well. So the discussion kind of got on a little bit into our strategic planning last Thursday. And was it last Thursday? No, it was Thursday before that. Yeah. And a number of directors voiced their disappointment that there wasn't really an agricultural component to our strategic planning. So after some discussion, CAO Newell suggested that perhaps that could be something that would be brought forward at the RDOS, would be to look into this further and expand on that and perhaps come up with a food charter, which, as you know, is something that I'm interested in doing at the district level. So that's all I have to report, except that I will be absent. I'm going to be away from Summerland from November the 15th to the 21st. I won't be missing a council meeting, but I won't be here next week.
Thank you. Councillor Barker.
I attended the irrigators open house, and I do appreciate how much work staff and the committee put into that presentation. I ran out of time talking to people like Mr. Mayor to review all of the charts and to the depth I'd like to, but it was obviously quite useful. And then also the heritage subcomponent of the cultural advisory or cultural task force, which was ably led by Councillor Holmes. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Holmes, that was great. It was an interesting discussion, and then we had a Heritage Advisory Committee meeting during the week too. That's about it.
Councillor Trainer.
In addition to attending the strategic planning session last week with all of my other councillors, I went to the Irrigator Water Open House as well, and there was a lot of information, especially when you're new to that, so I asked staff for help in explaining it to me afterwards, and I think I get it now. I also met with Mayor Waterman, part of one of our first meetings to discuss the the mayor's task force. So we're going to get going on that pretty soon. And other than meeting with business owners and hiking around a lot, that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, questions from the media? At all? Susan? John? Nothing? Any members of the public like to raise anything? There's an option for the public to say comments. Sure, but that way we can hear you properly. Go ahead. Just your name, please.
Graham Carner. I live at 19800 Garnet Valley Road. I just had a quick question. The comment about fencing the ESA 1 area at Prairie Valley, is that something that would go through public consultation? Or would you guys just do it if you wanted to do it?
I think it's just the recognition of the ESA 1 is a matter of, I think, once we look at the consultation and so on and see what proposals that may come forward or ideas through that consultation process, I think the idea of having the mapping done was to assure us and show us what area was specifically needed protecting. And the only reason you might go to fencing, I think, is what our biologist Alison Pete was just alluding to, was that it may be the only way to actually protect.
Yeah, I just had a comment on that, and I wasn't sure if I should wait for a more appropriate time or not.
Go ahead.
It's
open mic.
I just wanted to say that area, like, there's lots of trails through there, but part of the qualification for being in the ESA 1 area that it is stable, and if you do go to a fencing option, you are probably going to antagonize a lot of people who like to hike through there and ride horses through there. I think you could probably achieve the same goal of protecting their area just by reaching out to some of the local communities, like the ATV driving club, the rodeo development grounds committee, get in touch with horseback riders and just put up some signs for the hikers, and you could probably achieve the same thing. And if you do develop the ESA 4 areas, then yes, you may have to, I would think you might have to go more drastic measures, because you'll be pushing people outwards. But that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you, Kareem. I think the concern is that it's a bonus that we have the mapping, so it's just part of the conversation as we move forward. So, anybody else like to make, yes, Christine, please.
Hi, I just wanted to make one additional comment from the Chamber of Commerce, and this is regarding the 28th annual Light Up, which is coming on November 27, Friday, the last Friday of November. Last year, Mayor and councillors were very much kind enough to volunteer to help us out that evening with different duties, and my staff urged me today not to let a chance to ask you again go by if you would consider volunteering. So that's one item that I'll put before you. So thank you.
Is it going to be warmer this year?
Yes, we have put that order in across the board. It's going to be warmer. Was it ever? It was tough, yeah. Yeah, no, and hopefully the district does not have, tons and tons of snow to clear that week as well, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Christine.
Okay, no further. Graham, go ahead.
One thing I forgot to mention, I believe if you do think about the fencing option, I believe people have tried to fence those trails before, and people have just cut through it. So it's something to bear in mind.
Yeah, I think the only reason the biologist mentioned that earlier was that there are, and I think, Allison, didn't you mention that there are varying degrees of protection? The ultimate is to try and fence if that's seen as a,
Yeah, I don't think we should get fixated on fencing.
No.
I think we should look at the broad
Yeah,
options. I mean, I'm not sure who started talking about fencing as an option. I think relative to horses.
Yeah.
But,
Was that you?
But yeah, I mean, Graham, I'm pretty familiar with issues around fencing too. I think that's a really good comment that you gotta think about the way the area is being used as well.
I think, as we're looking at various options in the community, wherever they might be, when we're in the interface areas and so on, any planning exercise revolves around the thoughts of access and wildlife trail or corridors, et cetera. So those are all things that have to be considered.
It's totally consistent too with what was done on the Deer Ridge development, which isn't that far away, really. A consideration around protecting those higher value sites and maintaining public access to them was part of that concept. It's part of the discussion that's happening around Hunters Hill as well. So I don't think there's a conflict between access and the continued hiking and other types of use, but when you put ATVs and bikes into the mix, then there's going to be more impacts associated with that, and there may be a need for more regulation.
I think to add to that, we've had some discussions with ATV groups and so on earlier this year, so we've got a process that I think is going to work for us. Thank you. Thank you. Could we have a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Booth, thank you. Councillor Peak, all in favor? Thank you. Motion's passed. Thank you, everybody.